Hello and welcome to When the Smoke Clears. I am the Recovery Plug. What's going on, everybody? I hope everybody's day is going great. I know that mine is. It's been going pretty good ever since, first thing this morning it was going great. So, I am excited to be here. I'm excited to talk to you guys today. We'll, jump on another subject and discuss it and see, where that can lead and see what kind of rabbit hole we can dig into, right? But anyway, before we get started with the video here, let's have a moment of silence followed by the serenity prayer for the addict who still suffers. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Alrighty, well, let's get started, man. Today's it started off pretty good, man. I was able to visit with one of my daughters. We connected this afternoon, earlier today, about lunchtime, and she went and helped me do a few errands, and I got to see the grandkids a little bit, so that was pretty good. I always enjoy, little times like that when I can interact with my daughters, especially, when you haven't seen your kids in a little bit, you know what I mean? You tend to, I'm glad that I'm able to recognize the fact that, I cherish those types of little moments, you know what I mean? And, she was good, so, we talked and caught up and that sort of thing. It's different when you catch up with your kids in person versus over the phone. You know what I mean? And it's just that presence, that connection of being engaged face to face. It's just it makes you feel a whole lot better. I believe, and that is what I wanted to kind of turn the topic of today and discuss with you guys is the fact of how you present yourself and the energy that you radiate towards people, and I believe that if you have a positive attitude, if your thought process is always on the positive end, that those are the types of energies that you start forming in your spirit, in your soul, and in your mind. And it allows you to radiate that. People feel that presence. People will feel it. And it's, because I know that there's been times in my life when I've gone through adversities, when I wasn't connected with myself spiritually, or with what I like to call the magnetic fields in the cosmos. You know what I mean? I believe all of that intertwines into your spirituality, into how you feel emotionally, and when part of your life is out of whack and you're not syncing in synchronicity with all the rest of your feelings and your emotions and your external actions are, there's always something, that's not right. And as a human being, we have the free will to navigate where our life leads us. And in turn there, we have the free will to decide whether we want to be depressed, whether we want to be mad, whether we want to be sad, whether we want to be lovable, whether we want to be compassionate, whether we are mindful or showing enlightenment or caring for a fellow person, and that energy radiates towards anybody you have contact with. So I could remember as a kid growing up in a household that was led by an alcoholic man in the form of my father. My father was an alcoholic and a drug addict, and he this presence about him that if he wasn't drinking and he was like in this beautiful state of mind where he was just on point, where he was, where all cylinders are burning, if you will, and you could tell that this is a good man. You know, when he was like that, you could feel the energy radiate throughout the household when he was like that. And you could also feel the energy radiate even when he was drinking. Once he started drinking, he was this happy guy, and you could feel that energy. So you knew that when you felt that energy in that frame of mode that you could feel, then you knew that was our cue to ask to go spend the night at my cousin's, or to ask to go to the store, or ask to go play outside, or, you know, those types of things. And then there was also times that, you know, we would wait for him. We couldn't eat dinner before my dad got home. We had to wait always. And so, you know, we're sitting there waiting for him to get home, and you knew if it was going to be a bad day, because if he would get home a little bit more intoxicated than usual, then you knew that at any moment he could fly off the handle. And there had been so many times that it looked like it was going to be good, but then we're sitting at the table and something just flared off in this guy, and the plate of food that's sitting in front of him is just flying across the kitchen. You know what I mean? It's just, whew, he's throwing it. And looking at my mom like, why did you give me this? You know? And when it was that type of thing, we knew as a kid, you know, you're fearful, number one, and you're just, you don't know how to act. You know what I mean? You're walking on eggshells because you're frozen, because your next move could be the move that gets you whacked or something. You know what I mean? It was just uncomfortable. But my point is that your emotional state, the way you think, the way you present yourself has tremendous effect on your life and how you pursue things and how people see you. And I know that as I grew older in my life, that, you know, I knew that when I presented myself in this spiritual way, in this healthy way, because I was in my younger days, when I was in my 20s and 30s, I was just this workout freak and this real health guy, you know what I mean? And I was involved in my faith and involved in my health. And everything I did and everything that I surrounded myself with was what I consumed in my body, you know, how I talked to people. The people that I, you know, hung around with were all either workout oriented, faith-based oriented, or recovery oriented. You know what I mean? So it was just a mixture of those things. And when I did that, you know, people could feel this presence about me. And that's the type of people that I would, you know, attract. You know, and I would attract people who were into health, into taking care of themselves, into spirituality, into, you know, their higher power and those sort of things. And when I did that, you know, when I was like that, it was great. You know, life seems to be moving on all four cylinders. Everything's in sync. Your energy levels feel like they're going great. Everything's good. And, you know, I've also, you know, through adversities have changed that. You know what I mean? Because, I mean, I can remember when I would, when I went through these phases of losing my dad and then losing my uncle, and I got to this, you know, and then a few years later, then I lost my home, then I lost my business, and it's just a domino effect of things that happen. And I was in this whole other mental state then, and because of it, that's how my aura came out. It presented this negative energy to people, and in my household, it was just this energy level of two people, my ex and I, not seeing eye to eye on different types of things, and there was always this excuse, if you will, to in my eyes anyway, there was always this excuse that I needed to use so that I wouldn't feel any of the bullshit. And in turn there, my aura was totally different. My energy was different. My mentality was different. And all of that showed in the domino effect of my life. And, I went through this bad transition. You know what I mean? And, so yeah, I believe that, how you present yourself, how you come off emotionally, spiritually, is big on there being blocks, obstacles to stop you from moving forward in your life, whether in any part of your life, whether it's relationships, whether it's dealing with an addiction, whether it's dealing with depression or any types of things like that. And because I know that it's I allowed myself to get into that mode, and it was hard. It was a hard thing to transform out of that. You know what I mean? It took me a long time. It took me when I relapsed, it took me 5 years to transform out of that habit, because it could be tough. You know what I mean? And I'm grateful by the grace of God that I was able to transform out of it. And able to see where I needed to change in my life, and the things I needed to do to get to a different level. You know what I mean? Because I knew that if I would have stayed in that level where I was at, in that world of darkness, in that world of addiction, in that world of just negativity, then I know that my life was going nowhere, and I know it was just getting worse. You know what I mean? That's for sure. It wasn't getting better at all. You know what I mean? It just progressively got worse and worse and worse. I mean, I went from having a home to not having a home, to not having a family, to living on the street, to losing all my vehicles, to having a bicycle only and a backpack, and then losing the bicycle, and then only having a freaking bag. You know what I mean? It got to that point. And that's because I know that mentally I allowed that to be the path. And I just got bound down to the addiction, and I allowed the addiction to take control of my thought process, and it led me nowhere. And I was listening to a podcast on I like listening to Jay Shetty's podcast, and he had Tony Robbins, which is another guy. I love listening to Tony Robbins. He's got massive input on leading life on in a positive note and in a spiritual note, and those types of guys are the people that I listen to, and that I feel that I use them as coaches in my path of my living today. You know what I mean? I take a lot of those types of people's input on where to navigate my life today in the present. And he was saying in the interview that he had this they did this study where they hooked up all these things to him while he was doing this this online, seminar or whatever, and it gauges, your mental state and heart rate and all that kind of stuff, and it showed that because it was on screen, how he started feeling himself encouraged and pumped up, and everything, all the levels in his body were going up, and just for the good, you know what I mean? It was a positive thing. And they mimic, and they showed the audience, they had these things that graphed the audience that was watching him on these screens, and the audience their bodies were mimicking exactly what he was doing. In other words, his presence and the way he acted, the way he talked, the way he presented himself, the way he interacted with the audience, it all had an energy that connected with them and brought them up to that level. You know what I mean? So my advice, my encouraging word today is be that influence. You know what I mean? Be that influence for your family. Be that influence for yourself. Be that influence for just the random person. You know what I mean? Because if you're radiating with all this compassion and love and energy of wanting to help somebody and wanting to better your life and better somebody else's life, and just having that type of positive mentality is just beautiful. And when there's proof that your presence can motivate somebody else to do better, man, that's powerful. You know what I mean? That to me is extremely powerful, because if Tony Robbins can do it in a video, then I believe anybody can do it. Just like me doing this podcast and you listening to what I'm telling you, if you see and hear stories of somebody who has been in that adversity, who has been on that low, and then's come out of it and is doing good now and is sending a message of positivity, then I believe that it gives hope. It gives hope to other people who are spiritually starving, who are spiritually wanting a difference in their life, who are stuck perhaps in this, I'm trying everything I can, but I'm getting nowhere. And just know that if you're doing something every single day on a positive note, everything that you do has to be positive, and you have to do it on a repetitive basis, and you have to actually do it and not just think about it and talk about it. You have to do the actions, because when you do it, the more you do it, the easier it becomes. It's just like when you were a kid and you were fixing to get on this roller coaster ride and you were scared to do it. You had all these freaking fears, this adrenaline going through you that you just didn't want to go down that roller coaster, but then you did. And that first initial drop just, that feeling you get of just helplessness, but fear, but excitement and adrenaline all at the same time. And then after it's done, you're like, oh man, was this it? Then you want to keep doing it. You know what I mean? So that's how doing things on a positive and doing things repetitively every single day and conquering little goals every day will get you to being that ball of energy of love and compassion and being that leader, if you will, for you in your life. You know what I mean? Because for males in particularly, we hold the key to being that stronghold, that energy flower, if you will, for your household. If the dad, if the head of the household is looking like love and just being compassionate and showing mindfulness and helping people, then guess what the rest of your household is going to be like? it's going to be exactly that. It's going to reflect, that is going to just wash down to everybody else in the household. You know what I mean? Or everybody else in your circle of friends. You know what I'm saying? So I believe it's a real strong thing, and to the attitudes and the mindsets, for them to be positive and spiritual. And if you live your life like that, man, you'll I guarantee you that a year from now you'll be thinking like, wow, I mean, I love where I'm at now. You know what I mean? Because I know that a year ago or 2 years ago or whatever it was, when I was in the addiction and just there struggling, thinking that was the end, that was where I wound up. And then today I'm sitting here doing video podcast on, just health and wellness and spreading the message of recovery and how to deal with drug addiction and neurological brain disorders like, depression and PTSDs and childhood traumatic experiences. I would have never thought that I would be here doing something like that, you know what I mean? But I'm just grateful that I am, and I want to continue to do it. And the reason I do it is because I want to help. I feel this passion that I got to share stories that are going to help other people, so that we all live in a better place. You know what I mean? But yeah, at this time, man, if you would please give me a thumbs up, give me a like. Please hit the subscribe button and share on my channel. I would greatly appreciate that. It has been a pleasure to talk to you guys today. I'm really grateful that you guys tuned in and listened to me. Hopefully I've said some encouraging things that'll help somebody out there today. And, yeah, so God bless you guys, man. And please, again, hit that subscribe button. I'd greatly appreciate it. Just know that when you do hit that subscribe button, all you got to do is touch it. It doesn't cost you a thing, but just know that when you do, you'll be helping out another veteran like myself, another homeless person, another person dealing with PTSDs, childhood traumatic experiences, drug addiction, suicidal thoughts, depression, all those sort of disorders. Yeah, so just I'm grateful. So please share my channel and subscribe to it. I'd greatly appreciate it. But I guess until the next time on When the Smoke Clears, I am the Recovery Plug.